tutorial starts with a song, but it's only a few seconds long.
Computer animation. Computer animation. Computer animation.
Let's get started with animation.
Hi folks, today we talk about curves. And the curves are magic, and I did several tutorials about curves, rendering curves in Arnold, etc. And the amazing things about the curves today is that we can use one single command in Arnold to change the look and the behavior of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of curves. Enjoy this video. You might find it a little bit extreme or pathetic to just talk about a single command in Maya. And Maya has hundreds of commands, and one is Arnold, the curve collector. And that's what we're going to talk about, because it's a very powerful command, and I only got to know it just recently. Let's create a curve. You find the curves under curves and surfaces, and actually we can create a couple of curves with this tool here. It's actually 4 curves. They're in a group. In order to see this properly, we just ungroup it. That's under Edit, Ungroup. So they're sitting here. And now we want to render them. And if we want to render them, under Arnold, they don't show anything. It's totally black because there's no light in the scene. So let's create a sky dome light and render it again. And the sky dome light, of course, shows us a white background. There are no black curves there, or blue curves, or whatever. So why is that? Let me pick one of them. When you go to the bottom NURBS square shape 1, the shape I mean, it depends on the naming depends obviously on the curve you started up with. So the bottom NURBS square shape has an Arnold section. And when you open it, you have render curve. And now let's invoke the viewport rendering here under rendering and press play. It looks green because it's still not being rendered, but now you can tick this on, and now you see something appear, and when you raise the curve width, you see that something is happening. By the way, the shape of our curve is not round. But we'll talk about this later. So when you untick this, it's not going to be rendered. When you select all 4 of them and tick render curve, only the last one is being rendered. And again, you can change the curve width with this command here. Let me undo this, because we want to use the command now, which I talked about, the Arnold curve collector. And I select all curves and I use that command, curve collector. Now they are all already being rendered, because when I deselect them and just select, for example, nothing here, you see that they are being rendered. And in order to see them better, we can create a plane, make an NURBS plane, make it really big, and move it a little bit down. So now you see our rendered 4 curves. And the elegance of this command, AI curve collector, is that now we can change the curve settings right here. And the first thing we want to check is the width. Let's raise the width. And you already see we have this kind of flat looking structure, but we can change it from ribbon to thick. And now it's a round structure, which is just fine. Let's reduce this a little bit. And actually, let's raise it a little bit because I want to talk about this section here. It's a ramp, and the ramp is all set to 1 currently. When I click here on the left side and lower this to 0, we get the effect that the curve starts thin and gets bigger towards the end. And we can change this in many ways. For example, if you check this, you have a more detailed look at that ramp which you just want to create. For example, you can do this, and now they are thinner in the middle, and this and that, so they're thicker in the middle. That's how you can play with the thickness of these curves. Pretty cool, I think, especially when you have lots of curves. And this is almost real-time rendering. I think Arnold does a very nice job here. Let's create a 5th curve, and actually I want to create it in the top window, just like this, and move it a little bit up, this curve. Of course, this curve is not being rendered. However, when you middle mouse drag this curve number 1, which is our new curve, into the group of the AI curve collector, where all the other curves are, the 4 other curves are, you see that the new curve behaves the same way as the others. So it's a very powerful tool. If you have another set of curves and create another curve collector group, you can change the shape and the shading as well. So you have different kinds of sizes of the objects, etc. Now let me go back to this node here that picks basically all of the curves which we started with, and now I want to change the sample rate is about the smoothness of the curve, and what we have here is the shader. And there's a strange thing about that shader. When you click on the black part here and choose a blue, it does not render blue. I don't know why that is, but help is on the way. Click on the checkerboard icon here and select ramp. And now you see the ramp is working. So it goes from black to white. And when you move the black here, it goes still from black to white, but it starts with more black. And when you enter a color of, say, blue here, you see blue in the middle. And if you just want one single color for your whole curve set, just delete the others, and then you have a blue color for all the curves. Finally, I want to show you several renderings of many curves, in some cases tens of thousands of curves, all done with this command. So whenever you have lots of curves for visualization or doing other things, and you want to render them all in Arnold and give them the same color and the same basic shape, then go ahead and use the Arnold curve collector. And with this, I leave you for now. Bye bye.